excited and relieved, I think, is probably the two immediate things that come to mind.
What will be the very first task that you'll need to do now you're going to get your feet under the desk? What is the absolute number one priority that you now face?
Well, the first thing I've got to do on Tuesday is go into my office and meet the staff, most of whom I know already, luckily. But it's setting up the organisation that communicates with the public, because I know in the run-up to these elections how many emails and letters that I receive. And it is a huge number, and it is getting the staffing system to deal with that almost overwhelming interest that I think is the most important thing immediately. And the second thing, of course, is to get out and go around all the police units, meet all our senior officers, see where they work, see what their issues are, what their performance is in their various areas, and make myself known.
How are you going to represent the Thames Valley, not only because of the people who didn't vote for you,
yes,
but for the vast majority of the electorate who took no part in this whatsoever?
I mean, it is not going to be easy. I think you do it by producing the performance, which is not something you're going to do overnight. I think people will get to know you fairly quickly, who you are. And it is just about getting around, talking to people, seeing people, knowing your police force well, and reducing crime, and knowing how to do it.
You mentioned, of course, that the various different areas of the Thames Valley suffer from various different amounts of crime, and also the type of crime. Here in the Aylesbury Vale, of course, we're reasonably blessed in having a reasonably low crime level, but there are certain elements of crime that we still suffer from in the Aylesbury Vale, which Mix 96 covers.
Yes.
Are you going to be concentrating away from this area, though? Are you going to be concentrating on the Sloughs and the Oxfords and the Readings and not worry too much about Aylesbury Vale?
No, I mean, the interesting thing is the size of the Aylesbury Vale. This population is probably the same as Slough. So the populations are the same. It has vastly more roads, isolated communities. It has a huge rural economy. And that has to be absolutely looked after. And I think one of the problems in the past is crimes against the farming community especially have not been looked at by themselves, and the police very often in the past have forgotten how serious it is, because not only does it affect our economy, but it affects the people individually. It's very frightening to be burgled by a gang coming in and stealing your tractors or your combine harvests or your heavy lifting equipment. And the value of the equipment is huge. So in the countryside, that is a major issue. In towns, antisocial behaviour, in the villages, antisocial behaviour, and household burglary are major issues. And our big ones, of course, we have a problem with people exploiting vulnerable people, which again, I think, is a concern. And we've seen, and we're going to see a lot more of the problems that have happened in Oxford.
Now, bizarrely, because of this particular election, you've only got 3.5 years to come up with results. How fast are we going to see results from you?
I think it's extraordinarily difficult to tell how fast you see results, but I've been chairing the Performance Committee for the last year and a half, and we've reduced crime already by quite a considerable amount. And I hope that downward trend will continue. But I mean, there are other partners within this organisation. It's the criminal justice system and the Crown Prosecution Service. And if they're creaking, it is difficult for the police to produce the performance. So reducing crime is not just up to the police, it's up to a lot of other agencies.